Greetings, Earthlings. Welcome to episode 6 of the Matters Over Miles podcast. I am your host, Whitney Walker, and this is my co-host.
Oh my gosh.
Mary Pat Smisson.
We talked about this. We co-hosted together.
Nah, it's my show. My show.
My show.
You've
hey
had
guys.
a podcast before. I never have. It's my turn.
Jeez, ease up. Lord.
Whatever.
All right. You're here. Welcome to Matters Over Miles.
Yes.
Woohoo!
Just my mic. There we go.
Well, I loved your introduction. I thought that was
Thank
great.
you.
Did we just happen to have a blackout day?
Yeah, I think we had we're going to rock the sweatpants.
Y'all. It's
Kinda
a little
like
bit cloudy. It kind
Early
of got
90s kid vibes today, except for my shirt is a little too fitted, but it's okay.
My shirt is so comfy.
Hume Lake, represent.
It's a very comfy shirt. Yeah, this is basically my outfit when
Your
we
swag.
did stuff.
Yeah, at the camp.
My
we
gosh.
got to play at a Hume Lake camp
I know.
in February.
Yeah, something like that. January.
My gosh, that seems legitimately
ages.
like I must have been 18 years old when that took place because it's been so long. Wow, it was only 2 months ago.
Yeah, we were in Massachusetts, and it was freezing.
It was sub-zero.
Yeah, but we wore sweatpants and sweatshirts the whole time.
I
And
said
this
that
hat.
to be exaggeratory,
wore
like
this
sub-zero,
hat.
but it actually,
Sub-zero.
it was literally sub-zero.
Actually, it was. You wake up in the morning, and it was 7 degrees outside, and you're like, this isn't worth it, is it?
What's
Is
your
it?
current events topic for today? Anything?
It's kind of heavy.
Oh, it's heavy?
I mean, I'm trying to think current events. Okay, fine. Lighter.
Give me something light. Give me a fluffy thing first. Then we'll get. This is going to be kind of like a
It's heady. Yeah.
episode. So,
I made stuffed shells.
oh gracious!
And I have not made them in an age. And I made the filling, the ricotta filling with mozzarella cheese, 3 Parmesan cheese mixture, cottage cheese,
Homemade
parsley,
meat sauce.
homemade meat sauce, my mom's recipe. And you put them all together. So you put the filling in the shells and then the sauce on top and then extra cheese.
Yep.
And I, my first bite, we do these Friday night.
Nostalgia overload.
Yeah. We do these Friday night bonfires with our set group of people.
The family.
Yeah, the fam. And that made it sound like it was an exclusive group. It's just because it's quarantine.
It's exclusive because
We can't be with
we
20
are
people.
legally bound.
Yeah, that sounded awful. I was like, oh, that's got some shame in it. No, don't do that. Anyways, we get together with the fam and we sit around the bonfire after we make a meal together, and it's just a really beautiful Sabbath time. But this week's meal was stuffed shells, and it rocked my world.
It was heavenly.
God, it was so good. And I kept watching everyone's face, and everyone was like, So that was current events, a happy note. That's good.
Current events.
How about you?
I worked today. Most people probably don't really know.
Yeah, that's true. That's kind of a fun fact.
I work at a coffee shop in town, on the days that we are in town, which is usually not very many.
No.
We were shut down for a solid month for the, stay-at-home shelter-in-place order, and they just opened back up a couple weeks ago. So I've been back on the clock just a couple days a week, and it's not. It's literally 15 hours a week, maybe. Max. Right now, it's not even close to that because we don't have as much to make. But I work in the roasting room of Barista Parlor, which is a very notorious coffee shop in our coffee haven of Nashville.
And the head roaster.
The head roaster is longtime friend and loved one Daniel McCullers, who was in our band in college 12 years ago. And so now he's my boss, which is kind of cool. And it's
so fun.
Really nice for me to just go and hang out with the guys and sling coffee all day and
get a beverage.
Clock in, clock out. I do my job well and they pay me. It's not like I have no leadership. I have no authority. I don't make any big decisions. I just do a job.
You have it all over and you're like, oh, this is nice. You
get-
get to worry about it. I'm going home.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's great.
Well, that's good.
And I get free coffee, which is really
and you
helpful
like all
to
the
me.
people you work
I do.
with.
I work with a really great group of guys back there, so
Yeah.
it's fun.
I'm glad that you have
So yeah,
that.
I worked a couple hours today, and now I'm here.
Sweet.
Hence the sweatpants.
Oh, so nice.
Yeah.
It's like colder today, so it's kind of like just nice to be cozy.
Yep.
Yeah.
The last
Little bit.
gasp of winter, spring.
Yeah.
Before the 90 degrees.
I don't know. It might
comes a call in for 6 months.
it might be better this year. I don't know. Because it's been feeling really good.
Yes.
Normally, by the time it hits May, it feels like a swamp.
Right.
I think, though, what's been interesting is we've had, people talk about the weather, politics, different stuff. But honestly, Nashville has had some really gnarly weather. Like 3 days ago, that we had a Derecho wind come through.
70-mile-an-hour winds. We had tons of trees down around us, and
We got
130,000 people here without power.
We're just like,
And then the next night, there was like another bad storm.
I know. I'm just like,
It was
leave
just
us
like,
alone. Go away. Natural disaster
Yeah.
things. We're done.
God bless the Nashville Electric Service workers who go out basically right after a terrible storm has happened in the middle of the night and operate
they've
on
been-
all of the light poles and
Well, and they did
Yeah.
all that stuff with the tornado too. So they've just been like
nonstop.
doing so much stuff. Lord,
those guys
bless
some
them,
hazard
bless them,
pay.
bless them.
Yeah.
Any
right.
other currenty things? I can kind of, you can go into your heady version
Yeah.
if you want.
I've had like I think it's sort of interesting because at the beginning of this whole like stay at home thing, I really felt like God was saying to me specifically just that people were going to be sort of ushered, not forcibly, but like sternly guided in a
Shepherded is a good word.
shepherded like into a season of just like really letting God dig up the stuff that we are too busy to really work through or
Yeah.
like think about or like pay much attention to when we have like everything just kind of clicking along like at the regular pace, especially like and I know there's a lot, again, like I feel like I've prefaced this every single time, but like people are so sensitive. So it's like I know that there's people that have been busier in this season
Yes.
than they've ever been before. And they've
Yes.
had like zero breaks or they've been like with their kids constantly,
Yes.
which is like kind of more taxing than normal, or they've been working like in a hospital or whatever. You know, there's lots of people that it's affected everybody differently, but a lot of people are sensing this kind of great slow down thing.
Sure.
And so I really felt like, especially after I was sick, one of the things I came out of that feeling like was that God was going to be really dealing with people's hearts on things that they have been like, yeah, I don't want to deal with that. Nah, I
Absolutely.
don't want to deal with that. I'm too
Sure.
busy. I got to do this. Oh, I got to take care of my kids. Oh, I got to work, whatever.
Yeah.
And so I had sensed that, like kind of like a corporate church kind of
Yeah.
hearkening to that content, I guess. And that's here we are like a month later, and I'm like really kind of in that spot myself, which
Yeah.
is not a bad thing. I think it maybe has like caught me off guard a little bit because I try to be in a state of like
Self-awareness.
being more conscious of that sort of stuff. But I've had like several things that just have popped up in the last few months that, you know, have kind of alerted me to the fact that I got some stuff going on underneath the surface, like many layers under the surface, though, not just like you have like this surface level reaction to something and you're like, oh, that was a little harsh. Like maybe there's something else going on.
Sure.
And I think for me, a lot of those things like are going back to, you know, like many years prior to like what's actually happening in front of me. So
Yeah.
it's been just like, it's good that I have time to sit and like reflect and pray and like talk to people about it and kind of like allow myself to just go through the process of thinking about some of that.
Sure.
because I want to be surrendered to that process.
Yeah.
And I think honestly, like we were talking last episode about how busy and crazy 2019 was.
Sure.
With all the things that were just like right in front of you. You know,
Oh
like
my
we
gosh,
had
yeah.
everything that we were dealing with was it was like they were heart issue things, but the circumstances that caused that like upheaval was like present tense. Like you have to deal with like what's
That's
like.
a really good point. We were not allowed to escape what was right in front
like
of us.
we had to constantly
had
kind of
to
keep
do
like
stuff.
making all these choices and like
Yeah.
moving through, putting things back together as far as just like the time that we had to get things done. So I didn't spend very much time besides for like when I was writing the book, you know, like that was kind of like the place
Yeah.
that I went to like go and like think through things like with God.
Yeah.
But a lot of that was stuff that I've already gone through or already worked through because I was kind
You're
of
just putting words to
putting language to it and like
Yeah.
giving people a window into something that I had already sort of sorted. So
Right.
this is kind of like the first time that I've been really sorting something on a deeper level, probably in a bit.
without doing it for the benefit of other people.
Yeah,
Just for
and
you.
without doing it for the benefit of just like what's going on right
Sure.
around me in my immediate vicinity. So
Okay. I have kind of like a current event with that
yeah,
kind of stuff too. I think that there's levels of healing depending on what kind of wound you have had.
totes.
And I think that, I mean,
It's like the worst place,
totes.
the worst sentence to say.
Yeah, man,
totes. After.
totes.
You're like talking about deep inner healing, and I'm
The
like
worst.
totes.
I think that when something happens to you physically and you have to go through physical therapy, they don't ask you to run if you've
Sure.
just broken your leg. You've got to stretch. You've got to learn to, I mean, some people like learning how to rewalk, you know, and
Yep.
I just feel like for me, the thing that God's been doing for me is he's showing me this deeper level of healing now that those other places have been healed.
Yeah.
Because if I would have gone right to the thing that he's asking me to do now, then I would be destroyed.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be able to handle it. And I think in his kindness, he knows that. He's a good dad that doesn't ask a toddler to run a marathon. You know, he's patient and he waits for me to gather my footing and understand my surroundings
Yeah.
and learn how to take each step with each day. And then finally, when that day arrives, then he goes, okay, now it's time to start training for the marathon. And I feel like that's what this is. Like I have the particular issue that I'm talking about is dating, like pornography, sex, all of these different things, relationships, just kind of what I've always been super terrified of. But I think it's because it's been instituted in fear from a very young age, you know,
Yeah.
and like never really.
Well, for people that don't know, you saw pornography when you were like 6 or 7.
Yeah.
Accidentally, obviously.
Yeah.
And that kind
Yeah.
of like threw open the window to lots of things that probably
Yes.
the window would not have been open to for many, many years.
No, Lord, such a weird way to be introduced to that stuff. And the navigation that comes with it. So like
Sure.
always feeling like that particular subject is just shrouded
Yeah.
in shame, and God has been slowly peeling off all of these different layers. And now it's to the point where I don't necessarily feel shame about sex or that different stuff, but I'm watching how there's different pockets of pornography or when I dated when I was younger, you know, or like wasn't allowed to date but rebelliously did date. Like the only connotation that I have with relationships is a negative one.
Yeah.
Friendships, you know, kind of, if you pick the right friends to hang out with. But even still, like dating stuff, it was never something that I felt super celebrated in. And this is not to like bash my family or any of that kind of stuff. I think
But
for
like
me,
you had a lot of
I just-
baggage attached to that.
Exactly.
So it was like you were trying to harshly course correct it, but you hadn't healed yet. So it was not going to happen.
Yeah,
It
so-
just made it worse.
yeah, so I'm walking through all of this stuff with God, just being like, okay, well, what's the deeper layer to it? And he's bringing up stuff from like a few years ago when I'm thinking I'm full steam ahead on a relationship, and then at the last minute it gets like completely pulled out from underneath me, and there's no closure to it either. So it's like there's this open-ended wound on top of wounds, and I'm going, this sucks.
Yep.
And God's going, okay, well, let's figure that out. Let's go deeper on this.
Kind of makes you like sometimes wish that like you just were completely oblivious to the
Man,
whole process.
To be ignorantly to be blissfully ignorant.
Totally get
it's
it.
like nice because then at least you don't have to deal with the pain. But that's not who God is. You know, he's not going to let something fester. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, guess what? You have stage 4 cancer now. Like, you can deal with it and we'll just be okay with it. It's like he's letting me in on it ahead of time to be able to be proactive about it.
Yep.
You know? And also I know there's some people that probably heard that statement, like cancer like hits you really deep in your heart. And I just want to say that God hears you and he sees you. And if there's probably some sort of thing in that kind of wounding. So I don't know who that's for, but I felt that when I said it. But anyways, so what God's been doing with me is just, it's kind of like the test of the physical therapy that we've been doing for years now. And he's kind of going, where do you want to go from here?
Yeah.
Do you believe that there's good on the other end of this coin? Like you've seen all the one side, now let's flip it over. Let's try something new. But I think that the topic that we're talking about today, that a lot of my shame in that area is wrapped up in disappointment. It's just wrapped up in trying so many different types of ways, putting myself out there, you know, being let down or thinking something's going to go one way and then it never does, you know. And I would say like dating is something that a lot, like everybody's talking about relationships. It's something that a lot of people like, you know, it's what's going on in your life in that area. But it means it's so much more than, for me, it's attached to so much more than just, who are you going to go get coffee with? It's like,
it should be.
You don't understand. Well, yeah, but like, you don't understand. Like, this is something that God has to, completely rewire in me, because if I've only ever had the understanding that being intimate with someone, one, is completely skewed in an evil way, depicted with pornography. And then if the only way that I've ever been in relationships is when I've done it regardless of what someone has told me I should do.
Yeah, basically because essentially you're just like dying to be healed of or to prove that you were better or that you had recovered or whatever. And
it always
so
being slammed.
Yeah.
And never seeing.
Disregard completely what everybody else says, because it's like I'm going to prove to myself that I am fine.
Yeah, and it's like, I'm sorry that person, you know, that you like might not like that person, or that they're probably not very good for me. Forget it. I don't care, because I need to do something for myself that helps me to get out of this. Yep. So I've set myself up for failure, but that's also about the topic we're going to talk about with disappointment.
Good old segue.
Ew, you think I've done this a couple
times?
The
meat and potatoes.
Meat and potatoes.
What kind of meat do you think we have today?
This is something that has been stewed in like a really yummy. This is like home cooking, like Sunday afternoon, and then you take a nap after it. Like, the potatoes are full of like cream cheese and milk and, you know, like cheese, Parmesan cheese and like garlic. And it's just like huge. And then you put this like stewed, braised, tomato beef, and you just put it right in the well of the potatoes.
All right.
Oh yeah, it's a knockout. It's a coma.
It's a
coma
and
meat and potatoes
meal.
For real, you'll wake up and you'll go, "What just happened?"
Yeah,
for sure.
This chapter in the book took me so long to write, because it's such a broad topic. And I didn't even realize, like, until I started kind of like fleshing everything out. And I was like, this is 45 pages. This is way too long. Like, I gotta like I gotta know it well enough to simplify it and still like convey what I'm trying to say.
And
It's
I think,
a lot.
I think with that, I think just to say it out loud for you and I to hear it, I think we can give ourselves the space and the grace to be able to extend this to a part 2 if we need to, or to take the head-on disappointment and then maybe address like shame in the next episode or something. It's too big. It's too big, and you're going to get your world rocked, whoever you are listening to this, because we have been trying to wrap our brains around this for 2 years now, and I'm walking it out this week, man. God's walking me out of disappointment. Woo. Yeah. Go ahead. You're doing great. Oh my gosh.
Go ahead. Well, okay, let's start with checking on our time. Yeah, okay. Like 20 minutes in.
Awesome.
We started writing this song
Man.
one day with our really good friends, Nick and Lulu. We were just hanging out in the house, like just I had my guitar and I was messing with my amp and some like effects.
We were
and stuff.
rehearsing for something.
Yeah, we were doing some rehearsing, and MP just kind of started singing this "Disappointment's Not Your Name" thing. And to be quite honest, like at first when I heard it, I was like, she's gonna think this is a really cool thing, and I am not sure it's gonna connect the way that she wants it to connect.
See, and that's a good definition of a best friend. She didn't tell me that in the moment. Otherwise, you would have broke my heart.
Yeah, so I just
thanks
kind
for
of
not doing that.
Let it go. And you know, like as we sat there, she started kind of saying like, well, okay, like what are some other things that we could say in this song? And I was like, what are you trying to say? And basically the gist is like that God doesn't disappoint you. Other people disappoint you. I was like, oh, okay, like I get this.
See,
I understand.
See,
it still is like a little like ambiguous. So like we really need the verses of this song to be like something that's gonna zap right into people, so that by the time you get back to saying like disappointment is not who God is, it's like, okay, like I totally have like a very pivotal like connection with this. So we started just talking it out, like what are some things that people have said, like spoken to you that may or may not have been true, but made you feel like really bad, like just like yucky. So I think that like Lulu said,
you're too tall.
You're too tall. You're too loud. Like you ask too many questions. Is something that Nick talked about that earlier this week again. So we kind of started like listing all of these things that like, you know, just like when you're a kid, it's like you're out on the playground and like you don't get picked like for a team, and it's like you're too slow, like you're not, you know, fast enough or whatever, like you're not smart enough, you're all these different things.
If only you could be more like this person.
Yeah. So it's just like all of these like things that eventually, or maybe it's something you kind of already think about yourself, but then like hearing it said by someone else, you're like, ooh, man. So then like that was kind of like the first verse ended up being kind of like these sort of like childhood, like little nuanced things that's like they're simple phrases. It's
some of the phrases like, I remember being told my dreams were too grand. I remember
like you're too like you're too fantastical. Your imagination's too crazy.
Yeah, I remember feeling like they were not proud. I remember.
And we tried to make them generalize, you know, like we just were getting a feel for everybody's stuff so that like we could generalize it in a way that it would connect with a wide audience of people. So I think some people listen to the song and they're like, oh my gosh, did you guys feel like, and it's like, no, I didn't feel like all of those things.
My poor mom, she listened to the song. She was like, and I was like, Mom, this is for everyone. It wasn't just a you thing. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, no, we tried to make it like connect to as like a wide an audience of people as possible. So then that second verse is, how does it start? Do you remember? Man, we have not like played live in quite a while, and we don't really do this song a lot because it's pretty.
Well, I know that
heady,
oh yeah,
my virtue was distorted.
Yeah, there it is. I remember when. Yeah, I remember when my virtue was
when
distorted.
Someone said they didn't believe me.
Like heart became distorted.
Yep.
Yeah. I remember being told you'll never, no, that was before. I remember being told, smile, that's how you fake it. I remember being told you'll never make it. I remember feeling like I wasn't worthy of rescue.
Yes. Okay, so we like really wanted to.
Oh, that's what it was. I remember being told I don't believe you.
Yes.
I remember feeling like I wasn't worthy of rescue.
Okay.
What?
Yeah.
That's wow.
So like we really intentionally were going after at that time the just like being real transparent here, totally behind the song. The Larry Nassar case had just closed.
Yeah.
Who he's the gymnastics coach from MSU that was charged with multiple counts of sexual assault and whatever, he was charged with a bajillion different things.
Len, let me clarify too. I think that it was revelatory for you when that was happening, more of a prophetic thing that like you were like, whoa, this is happening the same time we're writing the song. I don't think that I was writing it with the intentionality of that. I think for me, it felt like I was thinking of my pornography stuff.
Yeah, and I think it applies to lots of different things that are like those kind of like big ticket items that it's like it's basically it's like so shaming that you're like, I just never want to talk about this, like ever.
Yes,
and I don't even know if anyone's gonna get it if I say it, and I don't really want to. I like just can't even get close to that because it's just super painful.
It's too much.
And so, and also that was like a lot of the hashtag Me Too stuff was coming out, and
it just felt like
all of these like women were coming out with like these sexual assault, like quote allegations where people were just like completely diminishing it. And it was a matter of like,
but we also watched that movie too, the Spotlight movie. About
my heart out
about the Boston Globe.
Holy
like
smokes.
Uncovering all the stuff about,
if you want a movie that's going to pull your heartstrings until you are like, man,
I don't
recommend it if you are sensitive in a way that is like painful to that sort of thing, but it's about
it's about
breaking the story of like the Catholic priests, like, and all of that kind of stuff that happened whenever that happened.
A lot of like child molestation and different stuff, and
super tough stuff.
Let me just say this: I don't believe that every section of the Catholic Church is dealing with that, but
Definitely
I'm not going to be naive and say that kind of stuff isn't happening. Even in any denomination, everywhere.
It's not
everywhere.
Give
they
me a
just
break.
happen to unveil
There's
it
been plenty
within that
of
movie.
Evangelical Christian leaders that have had the same issues.
It's just like, really?
Yeah, I think that just, we really wanted that verse to like hit some things in people's spirits that it's like, wait a second, nobody talks about that.
Yeah.
And especially not in a song.
Yeah.
So like, I'm just telling you that because these are like, that's when I'm saying disappointment. I'm not like, oh yeah, I really wish that the Lions would have won the Super Bowl this last year and they didn't. I'm disappointed. Like that's like, we won't even get into that. But
I
that's
appreciate it that we're not.
Disappointment. The disappointment is like introduced in the Bible, and the same word that's used for disappointment in the Bible is the word that's used for shame. It is legitimately to be shamed. Is like when you are disappointed, it's because you have been trusting in something that has like completely let you down.
Yeah.
So it's a deeper thing than just like saying like, oh man, I'm so disappointed.
I didn't get that thing that I was like hoping for. Oh man.
Yeah, like
and not
rats.
to discredit like, you disappointed that you didn't get a job or any of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I believe that there
those are like smaller
levels
that
of
is like that
trauma.
is still like a small level of disappointment and shame. Like if you apply for a job and you're really disappointed that you didn't get it, it's like
then you start questioning your worth and you question like the situation. All those different types of things come out of nowhere from it. Yeah.
So I mean, that's the root of the song, which we're gonna have the song attached to the end of this podcast so you can listen to it.
Yes.
But the moral of the story is that in order to correct disappointment, i.e. shame, in order to you have to realign yourself under the rightful identity that God has given you.
Yeah.
Which is hard.
Gosh,
work
so
sometimes.
hard.
Super hard work. And in the book, kind of the little catchphrase that God kind of gave me to like remind myself how to like.
Hold up. So the book is The Backwards Kingdom. It's the book that goes along with the album that it's a project that we attached with the album.
There's a chapter
for every
song on The Backwards Kingdom. So the song entitled Disappointment that we have been discussing, there's a chapter in the book by the same name, and that's what I'm referring to.
Yes.
The thing that I really needed something to help me like keep drawing the ideas back into like a main focus, because there's just was so much content that I could have written a literal book about this one thing.
You
Maybe
probably should. We should probably do that.
Is redesign and realign. Oof. And so like when something happens that causes you to question your identity, which is shame, essentially, you have a choice. You can either redesign God's good design.
Come on.
And start to believe in something that is false about who you are. And therefore about what you think and what you feel and how you act. And how you relate to everything around you. And you essentially you're like distorting your identity by believing in that lie. Or you can realign, which again, I'm not making light of it. It's very hard.
No,
But you realign your identity under what God has already spoken of you and the way that God intended for things to be when he created us with his image.
Yes. So perfect example. Adam and Eve in the garden.
Yes.
Snake talks to Eve and says, did God really say that? Origin of redesign.
Yeah.
So he's asking her, do you really believe what God says?
He's essentially saying, who are you?
Yes.
Who is God?
Yes.
And Eve is like,
Eve's like, I don't know.
Yep.
I've only been given the one option. I didn't even know there were other ways to believe.
Yes.
And she chooses the redesign. And in that redesign, shame enters the world.
And then the after effect of shame is the defense mechanism, which is often the thing that continues to propagate this shame ripple effect. And so then I feel ashamed, whether it's because of something that has been done to me or spoken to me, or it's something that I have done or responded to or whatever. I mean, this whole sin shame cycle has been going on for however many years now at this point. And so I kind of intersect with that at some point. So I'm ashamed and I am defensive because I'm ashamed. I'm not defensive because I'm sinning. That's like that, and maybe we'll do like a whole other episode about that.
Yeah, because that's super heady too.
But I'm defensive because I'm now needing to
defend the redesign.
My design that I feel of myself. So then when my defenses start to ripple effect, then it's going to affect you.
Yes.
And that's going to cause you to feel ashamed in some way.
Yes.
Or to need to defend yourself or to whatever. And then it's just like this whole disappointment. I think I refer to it as like a revolving door. Like it just continues to just go pew, 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 pew. And you drag more and more people into it and it spits you out and then you get into another one and it's just like.
So the example with Eve in that moment, Adam's standing there. They're both together. Serpent's talking to Eve.
Let me say, when they realize what has happened.
I was just going to get there.
Okay,
when after all of this has happened, Adam and Eve, they've both taken of the fruit. Adam's been there the whole time, not saying anything. Eve's participating in this. When they do and they eat and they finally get this knowledge, they go to hide.
They cover themselves.
They cover themselves
and
with
hide.
with something that makes sense because they can tell now that they've been exposed, that their innocence is gone. And
read defense mechanism. Yeah.
You guys, it's just, you know what I love in all of this stuff that God's taught me personally with shame is that shame is the thing that separates us
Yep.
from the Lord.
Does God come looking for them and say, like, why did you sin?
Nope.
Nope.
He goes,
He says, why are you hiding?
Come on.
It's a totally different way to frame the whole story. Instead of like,
it's not, he's not an
saying,
ogre. God's not walking through with like a big hammer.
Why, like, when I made everything to
so
be
good.
like connected and like together,
Come on.
why are you suddenly not
Come on.
connected to me? Like, why are you covered up? Why are you separated?
Because they chose the redesign rather than the realign. They
Man,
did. They
it's
could have
like-
said. They could have done. And see, this is what's so cool when Jesus gets tempted by the devil in the desert. Jesus is asked the same questions. Who are you and who is God? And Jesus basically says, no. There is no redesign. I will realign myself under the authority, under the identity as a son of the Most High God. And this is who I am. And the devil flees from him. He basically says,
He's like, ooh, I can't fight
it's
that.
like, well,
Gotta go.
that's about it. And that's when Jesus is catapulted into his ministry. It's so cool because there's so many examples of when God redeems the fall. And the only reason why the fall is what it is because we chose to not believe that God was good and that what he had done in making us was good.
Yeah.
When the whole time he said, this is real good.
So, like, if you think of shame as, like, if I'm not God, I'm just supposed to be the image bearer.
Who are
God.
you?
I'm, so like,
Yes.
it's not like, I think there's like some theology kind of things going around that's like, because I'm like the hands and feet of Jesus and he has created me and I'm like, it's like I am my own God.
Yeah.
And that's not what I'm saying.
Well, that there's a major responsibility and you need to make sure that you walk through it with all like, don't screw up, essentially.
And so, like, I'm not saying, what I'm saying is, like, I'm an image bearer of God. So I'm a reflection of the person that made me in the same way that, like, Vincent van Gogh's paintings are a reflection of himself. Like, everybody is a different person, but we all have, like, the image of God in us. And we're all meant to be the body of Christ together, everything, like, integrated, right? So it's like I'm supposed to look at you and see a clear reflection of God. And you're supposed to be able to look at me and see a clear reflection of God. And if there was never any belief in a lie, that would be what would be happening all the time.
Right.
Every time you looked at people, it would be like, wow, there's God. Wow, there's God. Wow, there's God. Like, there's so many parts of God that are, like, so beautiful and wonderful. And we're all, like, able to just completely be together.
Yeah.
Because it's like there's no defense mechanisms.
Yeah.
But when you have shame enter into the picture, it's like it fogs up the glass on the mirror. And so suddenly you're like, I see through that. Like, I can see through to, like, the image of God in you. But, like, you've got a lot of defenses. You've got a lot of
There's a lot of things that are distorting
separation.
the view of the reflection.
Yes. And you're, again, if you look into a mirror, even if the mirror is clean and you yourself are dirty, what are you going to see? Not a clean mirror. You're going to see the dirt on you and somebody else. So it kind of is just like this, like all of life, because of redemption,
Yeah.
there's also a cycle of redemption that takes place that works in completely opposite mechanisms that involve hope and realignment and reaffirmation of who you are.
So good.
And who God made you to be and who God is. And every single time that you stand on the truth of who you are and the truth of who God is, there's redemption happening. And it's like you're hoping in the correct thing and you're cleaning off somebody's mirror or your own mirror. It's just like it happens just the same way that all the crap happens. Just the opposite.
And this harkens to what you were saying when you walk through the healing process when you use the metaphor of physical, therapy.
Sure.
That you have to work out the muscles, you have to stretch, you have to do something, you have to use a foam roller to get the knots out, you have to eat the right stuff and build up your strength, but if something...
And oftentimes you have to be in relationship with other people that can help you do those things. And you're just not able to do it completely on your own.
Well, and that means you got to face it all the time, and it doesn't feel nice, and it's very scary, and it feels like you're out on a limb constantly. But it's like, if you can't learn, one, you have to be in a group of people that aren't going to keep doing the same things to you that you have been in over and over again. So it's like,
really super hard to
get
not
free and healed up
it's...
if people are constantly saying things over you that just reaffirm the lie, know? So if you get around people that have, a pretty clean mirror to reflect,
or at least are making efforts.
That's better too, because it's like, I don't know when it's ever going to be fully clean
until you get to heaven.
But that you're conscious and that you're aware of it and that you're walking in the process of redemption. Big words like that, like...
I think really just like the awareness of the fact that things happen in cycles like that.
Yeah.
If you're not intentionally turning it back to heaven on earth redemption, it's not going to just naturally redeem itself.
Yeah.
You don't accidentally get healed. Nobody in the Bible just like stumbled in front of Jesus and he like ran over them while he was walking somewhere and they're like, wow, I'm healed.
Wow.
It's like, no, they like sought him out and he touched them and they were healed. Like it's like a very like...
Or the dude came and asked him to do it and then he went back and his servant...
I think there's only two times.
Yeah, I think there was a servant and a son.
Somebody without touching them.
Yeah.
That's Jairus, is that his name? His daughter?
Jairus, something like that.
Jairus, something like that. Yeah, he asked because his daughter was not present, and Lazarus
that were recorded
actually dead. Sure,
and all the different things that John said.
But other than that, it's
that
like
we
an
don't
actual
know.
Like intentional intersection of human beings who are image bearers,
and Jesus asking people, "Do you believe that I can heal you?"
Which is essentially, who am I?
And who are you? Come on. Okay.
Wow.
We're going to have to take
come up with this stuff on my own. It's all in the Bible.
So the verse that we kind of came up with to get to this section that would be like the theme of disappointment was Romans 5:3-5 specifically, but I'm going to read 1-5 because it's a little bit better.
I'm good. I'm just
to explain everything. Therefore, having been justified by faith, we have peace with God through our Lord Jesus Christ,
dang it, I'm on a
through
podcast
whom
show.
Also we have obtained our introduction by faith
Thanks
into
for
this
tuning in.
grace
See you
in which
next
we
time.
stand.
Bye.
And we exult in hope of the glory of God. And not only this, but we also exult in our tribulations, knowing that tribulations bring about perseverance, and perseverance, proven character, and proven character, hope. And hope does not disappoint, because the love of God has been poured out within our hearts through the Holy Spirit, who was given to us. Hope doesn't disappoint because hope is a characteristic of God. Hope rides, it's the wind that the Holy Spirit rides on. It's who he is. He can't be any less than hope. Like, we get disappointed because we hoping for things to come rather than hoping in the one who's giving the thing in the first place. Because everything could go completely wrong, and if you still believe in the hope that's been given to you through the resurrection of Jesus Christ, then everything else lines up under that. But if you don't believe that the resurrection is good enough, or that it even happened, or that if it's powerful, it's not going to do anything for you.
And I think maybe like just to wrap, we will do like a part 2 of this, I'm pretty sure.
I'm so excited.
But
it's
to
so
wrap
good.
Up this little chunk of this about disappointment. Hope is the opposing cycle of disappointment and shame, which is what that verse just said in Romans. Mm-hmm. But like, it sort of is like in the Favor Ain't Fair episode.
Yeah.
where we talked about like if you're looking,
I think that's
for-
episode 4.
if you're looking for favor, you will find it because God,
According to your
seek
faith.
with your whole heart, and
Yeah.
you will find
Yeah,
God.
yeah.
So there's all sorts of evidence for kind of like you have to believe what you can't see. You have to like all these kinds of intangible things, which is
Yeah.
really tough. And if you're experiencing tons of pain, it's super hard to not fixate on just like how yucky you feel.
Yeah.
Which totally is justifiable. And there's people who've lived through like
So much
tons
stuff.
of awful crap that
Just terrible.
seemingly there's no way to stop living in that revolving
Yes.
door of just pain and like
Shame
hurt.
and sadness and disappointment. Absolutely.
And what I think I want to say is that hope can feel like a really out of touch thing to people that are in those deep wells of
Yes.
pain and shame. But hope is like something that is innate to us as people that God has created.
Yeah.
And so just try to maybe like pay attention to how much hope you actually are walking in, just like being alive.
Yeah, man.
Like waking up in the morning.
That
if
is a
you've-
lot of hope.
If you've been through a lot of really like hard things,
That's a lot of faith to have in hope.
yes, it's like you are choosing to go to sleep at night
Yes.
and you're going to wake up the next morning. And it doesn't make any difference if you wake up and go, dang it, I wish I would have died in the middle of the night last night.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I get that.
It's true. Yeah.
but it's like you have enough
you showed up.
hope
Yes.
to get out of bed. Did you brush your teeth this morning? Great. That means that you probably thought you were going to go talk to another person and you didn't want to have bad breath. Do you realize like how much hope that it takes to do that?
Yeah.
And you're innately saying like, I'm at least a little bit important.
Wow.
Like I'm at least a little bit worthy of today.
pouring yourself a bowl of cereal.
Yeah. Why
Like-
are you eating?
Yeah.
If you don't, I mean, like,
Yeah.
honestly, like, start thinking about how much you are already walking in hope so that you can start to see that be the thing that kind of can, like, multiply. And then eventually you can start to pray that, like,
go
okay,
something, yeah,
I believe,
deeper.
but help my unbelief.
Wow.
And, like, I'm not saying it's going to not be painful
No.
to walk through some of that stuff, but, like, give yourself some props. Like, you're
Yeah.
alive.
I think within the next like 2 episodes, we're definitely going to dive into a little bit more of this. There's so much.
Yep.
There's so much room for us to be able to grow in this area. Guys, something else got brought up from the depths for me this week that God's going, you can heal a little bit more. We can go a little bit deeper. You can get a little bit closer to me. There's more hope to be found. And it's not a one and done type thing with the Lord. It's a relationship. Like it's a constant growing. It's a constant deepening, an abiding, a staying with Him that just keeps getting richer and fuller and sweeter as we walk out these days, Him and me. And I just want you guys to know that we believe that for you. So if any of this stuff that we've talked about today has kind of triggered some things, like you guys can write to us on our Water Within ministry page on our website. There's a contact page in there, but we're also taking prayer requests, and we have people within our ministry that are going to be praying for you. Either it'll be Whitney and I, or we have some other people that we reach out to that we ask them to pray for you guys. But please write us. You're not alone. Like, you're not alone because God's always with you, but sometimes you need to have somebody else who believes in God to be there before you believe that God's even in the room with you. And we do. I believe that God's with you and He's with me, and you can make it out, not just to the other side, just to like crawl out of the pit, but you can like run and leap and live and breathe full, beautiful, rich lives under the guiding breath, the love of God. So I hope that hope has been stirred up in you and that faith is rising even in this moment. God, would you just make faith to rise up in people that have been dealing with disappointment. Thank you that you are the hope that we can always lean on. Thank you so much, guys, for being a part of this episode. Once again, if you need prayer requests, just go to our website, www.waters-within.com/WWM. We're on Facebook and Instagram, all these different forums. But we can't wait to see you guys for the next episode where we dive more into how you can deal with the shame that you have or different trauma stuff that you might have been dealing with. But this is a deep conversation. We're just getting started, and we're so excited to watch the freedom that you guys are going to have on the other side of this. So we love you guys. Thanks for tuning in. And also, just to end this episode, we're going to play you out with our song Disappointment. So I pray that it speaks volumes to where you might have not been able to speak for yourself. We love you guys. Have a great day.
I remember being told my dreams were too grand. I remember my ideas were castles made of sand. I remember being told you'll never make it. I remember being told smile, that's how you fake it. I remember being told that I was too loud. I remember feeling like they were not proud. I remember being told I was forgetful. I remember feeling like I was stuck in the middle. Who am I and who are you? Who am I and who are you? Who am I and who are you? I remember when my virtue was extorted. I remember when my heart became distorted. I remember being told I don't believe you. I remember feeling like I wasn't worthy of rescue. That I've hoped in what can only let me down. For trusting in a lie to keep me safe and keep me sound. You repeat the truth to every memory that I perfect love for me is what I claim. Disappointment's not your name. Disappointment's not your name. Disappointment's not your name. Now disappointment's not your name. Disappointment's not your name. disappointment's not your name.
Thanks so much for joining us on the Matters Over Miles podcast, a resource of Water Within Ministries. If you would like to be a supporter of the show, head over to water-within.com/WWM and click the donate button at the bottom of the page. All donations are tax deductible and greatly appreciated. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time.